Have you ever woken up from a dream and just thought, where did that come from? We all dream every single night, but most of us never really stop to ask why. Well, tonight we're diving into that mystery. I mean, this is the real question, isn't it? Your brain becomes this incredible storyteller every night, cooking up these wild, sometimes beautiful, sometimes just plain weird narratives. So what's the point of it all? To find out, we need to sneak a peek at what's happening inside our heads after we've drifted off. All right, so to understand dreaming, you have to go to the place where it all happens, the main stage. And we're not talking about just any old sleep. We're talking about a very specific, super active phase called REM sleep. You see, our sleep isn't just one long blackout period. It's actually just a repeating cycle. We go from dozing off into a really deep sleep, which is when the brain kind of does its physical cleanup. But then, about every hour and a half, the cycle brings us to the really interesting part, REM sleep. So what is REM sleep? Well, the name itself, rapid eye movement, comes from the fact that our eyes are literally darting around under our eyelids. But here's the wild part, the big paradox. Your brain is buzzing, almost like you're awake, but your body is temporarily paralyzed. It's a pretty smart built-in safety feature, right? It stops us from actually acting out our dreams. And this really shows you the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got the slow, rhythmic brain waves of deep sleep. That's your brain in rest and repair mode. But on the right, whoa. During REM sleep, the brain's activity is going nuts, looking almost identical to when we're wide awake. This is the electrical storm that paints our dreams. Okay, so if the brain is that busy during REM, what is it actually doing? It's not just making up random stories for fun. It's actually working through a kind of nightly to-do list that is absolutely critical for us when we're awake. And from what researchers can tell, the brain has three main jobs it's tackling during REM sleep. First, it's filing away memories. Second, it's boosting our creativity. And third, it's giving us a full emotional reset. So let's break down that first job. All right, first up, the brain office. Think about all the stuff you see and learn during the day. It's a ton of information. Well, during REM sleep, your brain is like this super organized office manager. It sorts through everything that happened, decides what's important enough to keep, and then files those key memories into your long-term storage. This is exactly why getting good sleep is so important when you're trying to learn something new. Next, the brain switches gears and becomes an idea factory. It doesn't just neatly file away memories, it actually starts smashing them together in new and unexpected ways. This is a huge engine for creativity. It's how Paul McCartney said he dreamed the melody for yesterday. It's even how a scientist figured out the structure of the benzene ring, which was a massive discovery in chemistry. All from a dream. And finally, the brain acts as our emotional night janitor. REM sleep helps us process the difficult emotions of the day by dialing down stress chemicals. But here's the really cool part. Dreaming helps separate the feeling from the memory. So it lets you learn the lesson from a tough experience without having to hold on to all the pain and baggage that came with it. It's literally a nightly emotional reset button. Okay, so memory filing, creativity, processing emotions, that all makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't really explain why our dreams are just so bizarre, does it? Exactly. I mean, if the brain is doing all this important work, why does it show up as you flying over your childhood neighborhood or having a serious conversation with a talking teapot? What's the point of all that weirdness? So why the strangeness? Well, one of the leading theories is something called threat simulation. The basic idea is that our dreams are this ancient, evolutionary training ground, a way for our brain to prep us for potential dangers, but in a totally safe space. Think of it like your own personal virtual reality simulator. Your brain cooks up these challenging, stressful, or just odd situations, like being chased by a monster, to let you practice your reactions. Now, that monster might just be a stand-in for a big deadline at work or a social situation you're nervous about, but the act of running, hiding, and problem-solving actually sharpens your real-world responses without you facing any actual risk. So when you put it all together, you start to see that dreaming isn't just some random, passive side effect of sleep. It is an active, incredibly important process. You could even call it your brain's nightly superpower. So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. Why does dreaming matter so much? Well, it locks in our memories so we can learn. It processes our tough emotions so we can heal. It makes us more creative. It prepares us for real-world challenges, and ultimately, it just resets our minds so we're ready to take on a brand new day. So the next time you wake up from a particularly strange dream, don't just brush it off. Take a second and just appreciate the incredible, complicated work your brain was just doing for you all night long. And that leaves me with one final thought for you to chew on. What's the wildest, most unforgettable story your brain has ever told you?